The antiseptic smell hung heavy in the air, a constant reminder of the battle being fought within the sterile walls of St. Grace Hospital. Room 304 was shrouded in a dim, melancholic light, a stark contrast to the vibrant life that lay seemingly dormant within the frail body of Lily. An 8-year-old girl with eyes the color of the summer sky. Now closed in a weary slumber. Her small hands, usually busy crafting fantastical worlds with crayons and paper, clutched tightly onto a worn plush of each Gao, its fur matted from years of unwavering companionship. David and Emily, her parents, sat vigilantly by her bedside, their faces etched with a mixture of exhaustion and raw, unyielding love. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was a cruel metronome counting down precious moments. Each beep a painful echo of their dwindling hope. They exchanged a glance, a silent conversation filled with unspoken fears and cherished memories. "Remember that time she insisted on wearing her princess dress to the grocery store?" David whispered, a faint smile gracing his lips. Emily chuckled softly, tears welling in her eyes. "And the time she tried to bake a cake for your birthday, using mud and leaves?" Their memories were a lifeline, a desperate attempt to hold onto the vibrant spirit of their daughter. The Lily who loved to sing off-key, dance with wild abandon, and dream of flying to the moon. But the stark reality of the present was a suffocating blanket, threatening to extinguish their hope. The heart monitor beeped again, slower this time, a chilling whisper in the darkness. As Lily's frail chest barely rose with each labored breath, a wave of despair washed over David and Emily, threatening to pull them under. They were trapped in a nightmare, a desperate battle against an invisible enemy that seemed determined to steal their precious child away. The weight of Dr. Evans' words hung heavy in the air, suffocating the remaining hope that clung desperately to David and Emily's hearts. "I'm so sorry. There's nothing more we can do," he had said, his voice laced with genuine sympathy. But his words were a death knell, a final, devastating blow. Emily stumbled back, clutching her chest as if physically wounded. David stood frozen, his mind struggling to comprehend the unfathomable. It couldn't be true. Lily was their world, their everything. In the quiet solitude of the hospital room, Emily opened her worn leather-bound journal, its pages filled with Lily's artwork and Emily's own heartfelt words. She began to write, her pen scratching frantically across the page, pouring out her pain, her fear, and her unwavering love for her daughter. "My dearest Lily," she wrote, her hand trembling, "I remember the day you were born. The first time I held you in my arms. You were so small, so perfect. I promised to protect you, to love you unconditionally. But now, I feel so helpless, like I'm failing you." In the corner of the room, Max, their golden retriever, whined softly, his ears drooping, sensing the overwhelming sadness that filled the air. He padded over to Lily's bedside, nudging her hand with his wet nose, as if trying to offer comfort. He knew something was terribly wrong, and his loyal heart ached for his beloved friend. The day Lily and Max met was a rainy afternoon. Lily had been recovering from a cold, cooped up inside and feeling miserable. David had brought home a small, fluffy puppy, a surprise to cheer her up. Lily's eyes had lit up, her face breaking into a radiant smile. "Max," she had squealed, reaching out to cuddle the puppy. From that moment on, they were inseparable, partners in crime, their bond unbreakable. Max lay beside Lily, his large, soulful eyes fixed on her face. He licked her hand gently, a silent promise of unwavering loyalty. Emily, her grief momentarily subdued by a flicker of hope, paced restlessly around the room. She couldn't accept defeat. She wouldn't. Her gaze fell upon a dusty, leather-bound book she had found tucked away in the attic, a forgotten relic from her grandmother. It spoke of ancient healing practices, of the extraordinary bond between humans and animals, and of the ability of certain dogs to heal the sick. A desperate idea sparked in her mind. A long shot, but a shot nonetheless. As the moon climbed higher in the night sky, casting an ethereal glow upon the room, Max began to stir. He stood up, his body trembling slightly, and turned his gaze towards the window. His eyes seemed to focus on something beyond the glass, something that the human eye couldn't perceive. A soft, golden light began to emanate from his fur, casting dancing shadows on the walls. Emily felt a shiver run down her spine. an unexplainable sensation of both fear and hope. She turned to David, her eyes filled with a mixture of determination and desperation. "David," she whispered, her voice barely audible, "I know it sounds crazy, but I think Max can help Lily. I read about it in this book." David listened patiently, his brow furrowed with skepticism. He was a man of science, a pragmatist who relied on facts and logic. But looking at Emily's face, seeing the fervent belief in her eyes, he couldn't bring himself to dismiss her. "Emily," he said softly, "I don't know if I believe in all this, but I'm willing to try anything. Anything at all." The heart monitor went haywire, its rhythmic beeping replaced by a cacophony of frantic alarms. Lily's body convulsed, her face contorted in pain. The medical team rushed into the room, a whirlwind of frantic activity and hushed commands. Dr. Evans, his face etched with concern, barked orders, adjusting equipment and shouting instructions. But amidst the chaos, Emily's eyes remained fixed on Max. As Max got closer, a new sound and lights came up. The light shone from Max and created a force field surrounding Lily. A small, golden stream began to flow from Max's forehead into the Lily's forehead. Max was giving Lily a boost of his own power. "Get that dog out of here," Dr. Evans shouted, his voice laced with panic. "He's interfering." Emily stood her ground, her eyes blazing with defiance. "No," she cried, her voice ringing with a newfound strength. "Max is the only one who can save her." Ignoring the doctor's protests, Emily knelt down beside Max, placing her hand on his head. "Please, Max," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "Save her. I know you can." At that moment, as if in response to Emily's plea, a blinding light erupted from Max, bathing the room in an ethereal glow. The air crackled with energy, and a strange, otherworldly hum filled the silence. Max then let out a heart-wrenching howl. The light began to fade, revealing Max now very weak and frail. Emily looked back at Lily and Lily's eyes popped open. Max had done something, but what would be his fate? The chaotic scene slowly subsided as the room returned to a semblance of calm. The medical team, initially stunned into silence, began to cautiously monitor Lily, their faces etched with disbelief. Her breathing was steady, her skin no longer pale and clammy, and the frantic alarms of the heart monitor were replaced by a steady, reassuring rhythm. But the most astonishing sight was Lily herself. Her eyes, once clouded with pain and fatigue, were now wide and clear, filled with a serene light. "Max," she whispered, her voice raspy but filled with a profound sense of recognition. A faint smile graced her lips as she reached out a trembling hand towards the golden retriever, who lay exhausted beside her, his tail thumping weakly against the bed. Emily and David exchanged incredulous glances, tears streaming down their faces. It was a miracle, a genuine, unexplainable miracle. As the medical team stepped back to give them space, Lily began to speak, her words halting but clear. "I was in the dark," she said, her voice barely audible. "It was cold, and I was so scared. But then, I heard him. Max, he was calling me, telling me to come back." She paused, her eyes locking with Max's. "I heard his voice, and I knew I wasn't alone. He showed me the way back." A profound sense of connection filled the room, a testament to the extraordinary bond between the girl and her dog. They shared something that the human mind couldn't fully comprehend, a language of the heart that transcended words. The euphoria of Lily's recovery slowly gave way to a chilling realization. While Lily's strength returned with each passing hour, Max seemed to fade, his energy depleted, his once vibrant eyes now dull and clouded. He barely ate, barely moved, and the soft golden fur that once shimmered in the sunlight now seemed to cling to his bones. David and Emily watched with growing alarm, the joy of Lily's recovery tainted by the heartbreaking sight of Max's decline. They understood, with a sickening certainty, that Max had paid a heavy price for his selfless act. He had poured his own life force into Lily, sacrificing his own well-being to save her. The weight of this realization pressed down on them, a crushing burden of guilt and gratitude. As Dr. Evans continued to run tests on Lily, marveling at her miraculous recovery, he remained skeptical about Max's role, attributing his exhaustion to stress and fatigue. But David and Emily knew better. They had witnessed the miracle firsthand, the transfer of energy, the unwavering devotion. One evening, While Lily slept peacefully, Max suddenly collapsed, his body convulsing, his breathing shallow and ragged. Emily cried out in alarm, cradling Max in her arms. David rushed to his side, his face etched with fear. "Max, no," he pleaded, stroking the dog's matted fur. "Don't leave us." David, driven by desperation, began to delve deeper into the mysteries surrounding Max's lineage. He spent hours scouring the internet, poring over ancient texts and folklore, searching for any clue that might explain Max's extraordinary ability. He learned about the legendary healing hounds, dogs believed to possess a mystical connection to the earth, capable of channeling energy and healing the sick. He discovered that Max's ancestors were said to have been revered by ancient tribes, considered sacred animals with the power to communicate with the spirit world. Meanwhile, Emily devoted herself to caring for Max, preparing his favorite meals, reading him stories, and showering him with affection. She even began to learn canine massage techniques, hoping to ease his pain and restore his energy. Lily, still weak but determined, spent her days drawing pictures of Max, filling them with bright colors and heartfelt messages. She would sit by his side, whispering words of love and gratitude, promising to never forget what he had done for her. One afternoon, while browsing through the old book Emily had found in the attic, Lily stumbled upon a hidden passage, a cryptic inscription written in a forgotten language. With Emily's help, they managed to translate it. It spoke of a ritual, a sacred ceremony that could potentially restore the energy of a healing hound. But it required a selfless act, a sacrifice from someone who truly loved the dog. David and Emily had found Max in a box that read, "Free dog," on the side of a road. They immediately took him in and knew that he was a special dog. A new chapter was made in the family. Lily, Max, Emily and David. The box had a return address, but Emily and David felt like it should be ignored. Max was with them now. Lily felt like she could hear Max. He said, "I have already lived my life, so please let me go. Thank you for being a great family." David and Emily were floored. Lily felt like she could really communicate with Max, and she told her parents what Max said. Emily and David told Lily that they made a vow under the moon. "Lily, please save me. I'll take care of Max." Lily said, "You will have to join the secret dog society." David said, "The pact that was made felt serious." Word of Lily's miraculous recovery and Max's presence had spread throughout the hospital, reaching the ears of Mrs. Johnson, a stern, unyielding nurse with a deep-seated aversion to animals, haunted by a tragic past in which she lost a loved one to a disease believed to have been carried by a stray animal. Mrs. Johnson viewed Max as a potential threat, a walking petri dish of germs and allergens. She confronted David and Emily, her voice laced with disapproval. "This animal has no place in a hospital," she declared, her eyes narrowed. "He's a health hazard, a danger to the patients." David and Emily, fueled by desperation and unwavering love for Max, stood their ground. "Max is not a hazard," David retorted, his voice rising in anger. "He saved my daughter's life. He's more than just a dog. He's a member of our family." Mrs. Johnson remained unmoved, her face impassive. "Rules are rules," she snapped. "The dog has to go. I've already filed a complaint with the hospital administration." The situation escalated, their voices echoing through the sterile halls, attracting the attention of Dr. Evans. He arrived, his face etched with concern, and attempted to mediate. "I understand your concerns, Mrs. Johnson," he said, his voice calm and measured. "But Max has been instrumental in Lily's recovery. I'm willing to make an exception, provided that the family adheres to strict hygiene protocols." Mrs. Johnson reluctantly agreed, but her eyes conveyed a silent promise of continued resistance, a brewing storm threatening to shatter the fragile peace. The stress of the confrontation took its toll on Lily, her breathing becoming labored, her face pale. As the day wore on, Lily coughed even harder and there was blood. Emily knelt beside Lily, wiping her brow with a cool cloth, her heart aching with worry. "I'm so sorry, sweetie," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I shouldn't have let her upset you like that. I promise, I'll protect you and Max, no matter what." David, his face etched with guilt, sat beside them, stroking Lily's hair. "You were so brave, Lily," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "You stood up for what you believed in." Recognizing the toll the stress was taking on Lily, David and Emily resolved to create a haven of peace and tranquility for her and Max. They transformed the hospital room into a cozy sanctuary, filling it with Lily's favorite toys, books, and artwork. They dimmed the lights, played soothing music, and surrounded her with love and affection. Lily said, "Dad, Mom, I can feel Max. He needs me." David and Emily looked to each other. Lily began to recover. "I feel Max." David and Emily called the secret dog society. The headmaster came and said, "The key will be the blood." Lily cried out, "We are ready. We will go to the ends of the earth if we need to." A pact was formed. Days turned into weeks, and Lily's condition continued to improve, defying all expectations. But Max, despite their best efforts, continued to decline. His breathing became shallow and labored. His once bright eyes now clouded with pain. A soft and painful cough. One evening, as the moonlight streamed through the hospital window, casting an ethereal glow upon the room, Max turned his gaze towards Lily. His eyes filled with a profound sense of love and gratitude. He struggled to his feet, his body trembling, and slowly made his way to her bedside. With a final burst of strength, he licked her hand, a gesture of unwavering devotion. Lily smiled, her eyes filled with tears. "I love you, Max," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Max whined softly, his tail thumping weakly against the bed. It was as if he were saying goodbye, his spirit preparing to embark on a new journey. David and Emily knelt beside them, their hearts breaking. They knew that the end was near, that Max's time on Earth was coming to a close. They wrapped their arms around Lily and Max, creating a circle of love and warmth. A final embrace. With a soft sigh, Max closed his eyes, his body relaxing. He was at peace, surrounded by the people he loved. His mission complete. The silence in the hospital room was deafening, broken only by the soft sobs of Lily, David, and Emily. Max was gone, his earthly journey complete. The world had lost a truly extraordinary creature, a loyal companion, a selfless hero. As dawn broke, painting the sky with hues of pink and gold, David and Emily carried Max's body outside, to the serene hospital garden, their hearts heavy with grief. They dug a grave beneath a sprawling oak tree, a place where Max had loved to play, chasing squirrels and basking in the sun. They wrapped his body in a soft blanket, placing his favorite toys and Lily's picture beside him. As they lowered him into the ground, a flock of birds suddenly appeared, circling overhead, their songs filling the air with a poignant melody. It was as if they were bidding farewell to a fallen friend, honoring his memory with their sweet serenade. Returning to their house without Max felt like entering a hollow shell. The familiar sounds that once filled their home, the click of Max's nails on the wooden floor, his contented sighs as he settled into his favorite spot by the fireplace. The joyful barks that greeted their arrival were now replaced by a deafening silence. Max's bed sat untouched in the corner of the living room, his toys scattered around it like forgotten relics. Each object served as a poignant reminder of his presence, a bittersweet ache in their hearts. Lily wandered through the house, her eyes tracing the familiar contours of Max's world. She ran her fingers over his favorite chew toy, a tattered rope that he had gnawed on for hours, and picked up his collar, the leather worn soft from years of use. A tear rolled down her cheek as she clutched the collar tightly, inhaling the faint scent of Max's fur, a comforting reminder of his unwavering companionship. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned in bed, her mind filled with memories of Max. She remembered their walks in the park, their games of fetch, and the countless nights they had spent curled up together, sharing secrets and dreams. She knew that she had to do something to honor Max's memory, to keep his spirit alive. The next morning, Lily decided to take action. She gathered her art supplies, her paints, her crayons, and her sketchpad. She had a story to tell, a story about a truly extraordinary dog, and she was determined to share it with the world. With Max by her side, months turned into a year, and the pain of Max's loss, though still present, began to soften around the edges. Lily, now stronger and more determined than ever, immersed herself in her studies, her passion for animals growing with each passing day. She excelled in science, devoured books about veterinary medicine, and spent her free time volunteering at the local animal shelter, tending to abandoned and neglected animals. Inspired by Max's selfless act, Lily decided to share her story with the world, hoping to inspire others to embrace compassion and kindness. She started writing a book about her experiences, pouring her heart and soul into every word, capturing the essence of Max's unwavering love and loyalty. The book became a local sensation, touching the hearts of readers of all ages. David and Emily, deeply moved by Lily's determination, established the Max Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing medical care and shelter to needy animals. The foundation quickly gained momentum, attracting donations and volunteers from across the community. They organized fundraising events, adoption drives, and educational programs, spreading Max's message of love and compassion far and wide. As Emily and David were doing the paperwork for the Max Foundation, there was a knock on the door. Lily said, "Come in." It was Mrs. Johnson. She said, "I am very sorry for how I acted. I didn't think through anything because of my trauma. But I am here now." Lily reached out her hands. Years passed, and Lily blossomed into a compassionate and dedicated young woman. She pursued her dream of becoming a veterinarian, graduating at the top of her class and dedicating her life to healing and caring for animals. She never forgot Max, his memory serving as a constant source of inspiration, guiding her actions and shaping her values. She opened her own veterinary clinic, naming it Max's Light, a beacon of hope for animals in need. Her clinic became a sanctuary, a place where animals received not only expert medical care but also unwavering love and compassion. Lily treated every patient as if they were her own, remembering Max's selfless sacrifice and treating each one with the same care that he had shown her. One day, a young girl came into the clinic. She had a dog. He was a mess. This was a test. Lily treated the dog and the dog was well. She told the girl, "What's your name?" She said, "Maxine." Lily said, "This is Max. You two were meant to be together." The girl started to cry. Lily then felt Max's presence and knew she was on the right path. She began to see and feel Max around her from then on. Lily continued the legacy of love and light that Max had started. Forever grateful for the extraordinary dog who had changed her life and the world around her. She was a light now, and that was that.